There's a difference between doing terrible things and being terrible. One is survival, the other is something far more dangerous. Tommy Shelby is often seen as the embodiment of ambition, a man who clawed his way out of poverty and built an empire from nothing. A war hero turned businessman, a protector of his family. A strategic genius who sees 10 moves ahead while everyone else is still trying to understand the game. On the surface, his actions appear justified, rational, even necessary. But the truth is rarely that simple. Because beneath the calculated stare and the carefully chosen words lies a question that haunts every decision he makes. At what point does protecting your people become destroying them? Tommy doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. His power exists in the silence between threats, in the weight of what he doesn't say. He operates in a world where loyalty is currency and trust is a luxury no one can afford. And he's learned to weaponize both. But there's something else beneath that control, something fractured. The war didn't just teach Tommy how to survive. It taught him that the world is fundamentally cruel, that sentimentality is a weakness, and that the only way to protect what matters is to become more dangerous than everything trying to destroy it. The problem is, he never stopped fighting that war. Tommy experiences emotion the way most people experience weather, distantly, as something happening around him rather than within him. Watch the way he receives news of death, of betrayal, of loss.
Take a look at the future, Tommy. At least read it with an open mind. It's cold in here, Michael.
There's a pause, a slight shift in his eyes, and then nothing. He compartmentalizes trauma the way others breathe, instinctively and without thought. This isn't strength. It's survival mechanism calcified into personality. After France, after the Turnals, after watching men die screaming in the mud, Tommy returned to Birmingham carrying something darker than memory. He carried the understanding that attachment is suffering, that caring deeply means losing violently. So he stopped caring deeply. He makes decisions with surgical precision, cutting away emotional considerations like infected tissue. When he sends men to their deaths, he doesn't agonize. When he manipulates those closest to him, he doesn't wrestle with guilt. He's already run the calculation, and the ends have justified the means before the choice is even made. But detachment isn't the absence of feeling, it's the suppression of it. And what gets suppressed eventually finds another way out. Tommy doesn't just want control, he needs it the way addicts need their next fix. Every relationship in his life is defined by power dynamics. Every conversation is a negotiation. Every moment of vulnerability is immediately counted with a demonstration of dominance. Grace got too close, so he kept secrets. Lizzie loved him, so he kept distance. Polly challenged him, so he overruled her. Arthur depended on him, so he used that dependency. This isn't leadership, it's compulsion. The tragic irony is that Tommy's need for control stems from a profound lack of it. He couldn't control what happened in France. He couldn't control the nightmares, the visions, the ghosts that follow him through every room, so he compensates by controlling everything else. Every variable, every person, every possible outcome. But the tighter he grips, the more slips through his fingers. And when control fails, when the carefully constructed plans collapse, Tommy doesn't adapt, he escalates. He becomes more ruthless, more isolated, more convinced that the problem isn't his methods, but the insufficiency of his power. This is where strategy becomes pathology. To Tommy, people are tools. Not consciously, not cruelly, but functionally. Arthur is the enforcer, John is the soldier, Polly is the advisor, Michael is the successor, even Grace, even Lizzie, even his children. They all serve a purpose within the architecture of his ambition. He doesn't see them as separate beings with their own desires and destinies. He sees them as extensions of his will, pieces on a chessboard he's constantly rearranging to achieve checkmate against enemies both real and imagined. This becomes most evident in how he responds when people act outside his plans. When they exercise autonomy, when they choose something for themselves rather than for the family, for the business, for Tommy's grand design. He doesn't ask why. He doesn't try to understand. He sees it as betrayal. Because in Tommy's worldview, there are only two positions, with him or against him, useful or expendable. And the moment someone stops being useful, they become a problem to be solved rather than a person to be understood. This is the psychology of a general who never left the battlefield. So is Tommy Shelby evil? The answer depends on what you think evil actually is. If evil is conscious malice, deliberate cruelty for its own sake, then no, Tommy isn't evil. He doesn't hurt people because he enjoys it. He doesn't destroy because destruction brings him pleasure. But if evil is the systematic prioritization of your own ambition over the humanity of everyone around you, if evil is the refusal to see people as anything other than obstacles or instruments, if evil is the slow, methodical transformation of love into leverage and loyalty into liability, then Tommy Shelby might be the most honest portrait of evil we've seen, because real evil rarely announces itself. Real evil is rational, it's strategic. It wears a good suit and speaks in calm tones and convinces you that everything it does is necessary, justified, inevitable. Real evil doesn't look like a monster. It looks like a man who's simply doing what needs to be done. The tragedy of Tommy Shelby isn't that he became something terrible. It's that he convinced himself he had no choice. Perhaps the real question isn't whether he's evil, but whether any of us would have done differently. Whether we'd recognize the moment we stopped being the hero of our own story and became something else entirely. Let me know what you think. If you found this analysis compelling, there's more to uncover. Please hit the subscribe button for more.